Alrighty, welcome to the Friends Insight. I'm Graham,
I'm Emery.
and sadly today's Carson is sick, so he won't be joining us for this episode. But today we are going to be talking about the power of forgiveness. And just kind of to start us off, everyone kind of knows what forgiveness is. Forgiving is trying to figure out how to word this. It's just forgetting the past, or not necessarily forgetting the past, but resolving
Coming to terms with the
exactly,
past.
that's the word. Thank you. Coming to terms with the past, and with yourself or with someone else, and moving on. And that kind of there's two different types of forgiveness, and there's forgiving yourself, and there's forgiving others. But what are your thoughts on forgiveness, Emery?
It's one of life's most important virtues.
And why is that?
Because without forgiveness, we would be a race known only for holding grudges.
Uh-huh.
And don't get me wrong, there are people out there who hold grudges, and there are times when a grudge may be appropriate, but
It doesn't do you any benefit to hold a grudge or to not forgive someone.
you feel a lot better.
And I think forgiveness also gives us a sense of hope. So we have the atonement because Christ, he suffered on the cross and he gave us the atonement, which gives us the opportunity to receive forgiveness and, move on and become a better person.
Graham the spiritual man.
And I think without having forgiveness, there would be no hope. Just imagine a world once you've made a mistake, whether it was good or bad, you couldn't resolve the issues. You couldn't say sorry to someone, or you couldn't be forgiven yourself. Just imagine how hopeless and sad of a world that would be, of just not being able to receive forgiveness. And I find that pretty hopeless. And I'm grateful that we have this gift of forgiveness and the atonement, because it gives us this opportunity to we're all humans. We're going to make mistakes. That's inevitable. And it's just a way of life. But I'm really grateful for the atonement and forgiveness, because it gives us this opportunity to, like you said, Emery, come to terms with the past and resolve it and move on and try to become a better person. But so like I said earlier, there's two different types of forgiveness. There's the more commonly known one where you're forgiving others, like Emery punches me in the face, and I forgive Emery because he was being mean to me. And then there's there's another one that's kind of less known, but it's becoming more well known. But it's forgiving yourself. And Emery, do you have an experience or story or anything like that kind of goes along with both of those, or either one of those?
Forgiving others and then forgiving myself.
Yeah.
I may not have one for forgiving others. Actually, I do. It would have been 6th grade. We had our little friend group at the time.
Uh-huh.
And at the very end of the year, I was kicked out. And I hated that. I didn't like being separated from my friends, because at the time, they were my friends.
Uh-huh.
And so, going into 7th grade, we didn't talk much. Albeit, it was only me and another dude who was left. And he was my greatest friend in that circle. And we just didn't talk for like 3 months. And then we started talking again, and then it wasn't explicitly said, however, I came to terms with it and I forgave him for doing it, and then we remained great friends after that.
Which is always good and important. I have my own personal story for both of these, but for forgiving others is the one that I'll start out with. So me and Carson, he and I have known each other since 8th grade, and we've always managed to make our friendship work. From 8th grade to 10th grade, we were best of buds, inseparable. We were just super tight. We would always hang out with each other, spend time with each other, and he was just a really good friend to me. And then there's a girl that I had started dating. Her name is Francesca. And he and I were both interested in her, but he kind of stepped down so that I could date her. And there was kind of some issues with that, jealousy and just, trying to figure out whether she was committed to me or not. So that kind of made our relationship, he and I's relationship, a little bit rocky. And then there were some other things that happened that year with him and some other people that going on at the school that made me really lose my respect and trust in him because of some of the things that he did. But I try to move on from that. I try to forgive him, but I don't think I fully forgave him because that next year he and I weren't, at the beginning of the year, he and I weren't really good friends. We didn't really talk. And that was just how life went. And then that same year, so after 10th grade, that 11th grade year, me and Francesca broke up. And I'll be completely honest, that was probably that was the toughest experience that I've gone through. But yeah, that breakup was just really hard for me. And a couple months, and I was just dealing with a lot of things because of that. And then Carson, he started dating her, and that really just kind of broke me. It really hurt my feelings that he knew how much I loved her and the feelings that I had for her. And he just went and broke the bro code and, started dating her. And I really, really struggled with that. And I just completely shut myself off from him. And there was one day, there was a song called I Still Believe. Or no, I think it was I Believe in You. It's by Michael Bublé. Really good song. And I was just rocking out, And there's a lyric in the song that says, I believe in starting over. And when that lyric was playing, I was thinking about my own, story of forgiving myself and things like that. And the thought came to mind that says, how can I believe in starting over when I don't even forgive him for the things that he did? And that really just that's always stuck with me. How can I believe in starting over for myself and forgiving myself of the things that I've done, the mistakes that I've made, if I can't even forgive others? And that really helped me to be able to forgive Carson. And as you guys know now, he and I were super tight. We're back.
Bromance.
We got a bromance.
Carson, if you're listening, we don't hate you.
But I really appreciated, I honestly believe that it was a prompting from the Lord of that thought, but I really appreciate having that perspective of that. How can I believe in forgiveness for myself if I can't even forgive others? And that's really helped me to become a more forgiving person of, just little silly things and even big things that people do. That's really helped me.
And one of my favorite movies that has examples of forgiveness would be Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire.
And absolutely, it's a good movie. There's definitely some issues with that movie, but there's a lot of good symbolism behind, as Emery and I have talked about, the black suit. And Venom and the black suit in that movie kind of represent
resentment and grudges
and just hate. And you can see in the movie as Peter gets the suit and he's wearing it, it really changes him from the person that he is into
Bully Maguire.
And he's just like we said, a hateful and a resentful person. And I really liked how that movie represented that. And Peter removing that suit was him
forgiving himself.
Was forgiving himself, because in the movie it elaborates on Peter's backstory where Uncle Ben gets killed and Peter meets Uncle Ben's killer, and I think because of that he kind of just held on to that resentment and hate for what the character of what that killer did to his life. And I think him letting go of the black suit kind of symbolized him letting go of the mistakes that he's made and the resentment that he had towards others for the mistakes that they made. And I really love that movie, the end scene where Peter talks with the killer, and the killer explains his side and he says, I forgive you. And there's that super emotional moment because, as we know, for comic book lovers, Peter's Uncle Ben's death is a huge part of the origin story. Every comic book lover knows Uncle Ben's death and how much of an influence it had on Peter's life. And I think it was really special that Peter learned how to forgive his killers and forgive others. And I think that was really important.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into, the other type of forgiving, which is forgiving yourself. And there's that example of Peter Parker forgiving himself. And Emery, do you have any examples of forgiving yourself before I kind of jump into mine?
Well, I think we all have an example. So, a great example for this, especially for me, and probably all of us, would be when we make a mistake, we belittle ourselves to no end.
Our inner critical voice kind of takes over.
It takes over, and you just beat yourself to the ground over and over and over again to the point where you don't want to get up.
Definitely.
there's a point where self-forgiveness, where you say, like if it was a mistake, you went, you know what? I did make that mistake. I made it, and I'm gonna wear it proud. Even saying those mentally and out loud changes your perspective from all of a sudden belittling yourself to building yourself back up from that mistake, and ultimately becoming better because of it.
Definitely. And I have my own it was a very influential moment in my life. So that's last year was that year when I broke up with that girl. And there was a lot of things that were going on, big mistakes that I had made. And it really, really destroyed me mentally and emotionally. I had become the person that I had always said that I didn't want to ever be. And it really hurt to realize that I had gone that low, and I had beat myself up so much because of all those mistakes that I had made. And it really affected me, and I let that inner critical voice take over for a couple of months after that situation. And it really, forgiving yourself can be a really hard thing. And it's honestly harder than forgiving others, because we have such a high expectation for ourselves, and we know what we're capable of. And when we don't meet that mark, I think we really just beat ourselves up because we know that we can do better. And I talked to church leaders about it, and luckily my father was the bishop of my ward at the time, and he was really able to help me and guide me and help me to understand the power of the atonement and the power of forgiveness, and knowing that, you know what, Graham, you made mistakes and you really screwed up in life, but you know what, you fixed those, you've done everything that you can, and you've become a better person because of it. And I'm really grateful for having that experience, because it's helped make me into the person that I am today.
And kind of the quote that goes with this episode, because lately all of our virtue episodes have a quote that usually goes with it. Now, we don't explicitly state it, it's usually our thumbnail, but this time we felt like stating the quote.
Would be a good thing.
And this quote, to our knowledge, by Lewis B. Smedes, is, "To forgive is to set a prisoner free, and to discover that that prisoner was yourself."
I absolutely love that quote. That quote is so awesome, and it's so true. When we hold grudges and we just don't forgive others of the mistakes that they've made, the wrongs that they've done against us, we've locked ourselves up in a prison. We're in that prison of hate and resentment and grudges and just not being able to move on. And we're all prisoners at one point in time. And I want to give you the challenge, offer that challenge to set yourself free, to look at life with a more forgiving perspective and realize that we're all humans and we all make mistakes, and try to understand others and the situations that they're in, and try to forgive them for the mistakes that they make. And I know that it will make your life for the better, and you'll be able to become a happier person and a more successful person, because you're willing to forgive others and yourself, and just move on and try to improve yourself from there.
Okay. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of The Friends Insight. I'm Emery.
I'm Graham.
And if you like this video, hit that like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Let us know in the comments below your opinions, and subscribe if you like.
And don't forget to be good, do more, and cultivate happiness. Peace.